We're going to be in Vegas. We're going to be in Chicago for a little bit, and then we're going to go to Vegas. I'm here with David Moore, who's enjoying the weekend with me. And this weekend, we're at KC Metaphysical. Isn't this kind of weird? In St. Louis. So, yeah, the KC Metaphysical team of Gigi and Sylvia are running their operation out of there with over 50 vendors and systems. And we're going to be bringing you some live broadcasts as well as creating the new show where we're going to have to help you. You're going to have to help us name it. Right now, we're just calling it the Psychic Roadshow, but it's got to have a better name than that.
I kind of like Psychic Roadshow.
We do, and that could be the name. We'll have to see about it. It is, and we're going to be following them around. And tomorrow we're going to do some live broadcasting from it, and we'll let you guys know. We're going to do a lot of energy. Thank you for everybody who's already joined us. Have any questions today? Feel free to do so. David and I we kind of began laying out some of the ideas for the Pagan Business Show, and I think one of the things we're talking about, and I think it was very interesting. I think I want to share it with you guys. Is how do we support like this station? How do we support the projects we're doing? Advertising. And we were talking about that idea and everything else. So we thought that was very interesting. Hi, Diane. And that sort of thing. So how do we do these sort of things? Because we always seem like we're always like a little bit looking for money, and it's always going to be that way. But remember, vendors was one way we support ourselves, along with sponsorships. KC Metaphysical is a sponsor of Pagan World, so we're going to be out there to do that today. And so we've been putting it together, but there's always a question of how to survive. Hey, Sidwar, I'm going to get that, and that sort of thing. So yeah, thank you there. So we're always kind of doing ideas. So we want to talk from you guys and hear about what do you think about ideas about privacy. Hey, there you go. Hey, credit. There you go.
Hey, good to see you.
We're doing it from a slightly different angle. There we go.
Yeah, I am David, but also people who have known me in the craft for a really long time call me Croden. That's a part of my craft name.
And one of the biggest things we're talking about is how we kind of survive in the world. We've been talking a little bit about all sorts of different ideas. But let's go ahead first. We were at the KC Metaphysical show today. I thought that was really a lot of fun. We got pictures. Actually, I said David took a lot more pictures than I did. But we got pictures of how these things set up. We're going to be showing you one of the things Pagan World is going to do a lot of is show you the inside of these places and how you can make more income. People talking to me about that sort of thing, but also how we can make more attention, because I believe attention is what ultimately that. One of the numbers they were asked about us is, what type of numbers are we seeing for our shows? That sort of thing. We are about averaging 6,000 unique viewers a week, and the average viewer to our shows now, that's the real number for us. It's gone up to 3 hours and 23 minutes. For our top 1,000 people are spending about 3 hours and 23 minutes a week on our show. So we're really grateful for that. That's a lot of time to go ahead and listen to all of us be talking heads.
Can't wait to see where we're at 6 months from now.
That'll be interesting. That'll be right after the Parliament of World Religions, where we're going to be testing things and we're going to be doing things. And on August 19th, we're actually doing a ticketed event, online ticketed event for $10. And we're going to have some of the best speakers out there. We're going to have music, and we're going to have this coming out of the Parliament. So it's going to be really unique. And while we're going to do some of that live and for free for this, we're also having a $10 donation for first look, first try. And that's some of the ways we're going to do it. I think what people don't understand is happening is content is becoming more commoditized, but good content is getting more monetized, which means costing money. And people are now direct supporting it, so they don't have to see a bunch of ads. So if we were a perspective or a traditional show, we'd be going, and we'll be right back from our sponsors. Now, we'll have shows that we're going to do that, but not today. But instead, you guys buy blocks and help us out in various ways to do that. So these models are changing. Capitalistic models are changing. So
one of the things I just wanted to mention along those lines, if it's all right.
Yeah, of course. That's why you're here.
Is that it's just amazing how much money it costs to make these things happen. So when you're coming out of pocket and funding any kind of startup, or when anything's still fairly new and it's not yet supporting itself, you have to talk about things like that. And it's not because you're looking to get wealthy. You just really would like this thing to be able to stand on its own legs. It's your baby and you want to see it walk. Mm-hmm. And that's the stage that these new projects are at. It's a stage where we'd love to see it toddling all by itself. That's all. we're not really looking for a whole lot right this minute. It'd be lovely if it grew, but when it grows, we're going to be offering more and more value to people anyway. So
Hmm.
it's beneficial to the entire community to support this effort. Everybody gets something out of it, and they can get more out of it in time if they help to support it in any way they find that they can.
Sure, absolutely. And one of the things one of my biggest philosophies that I have, and you guys have heard it before, but I haven't talked about it a lot. It's called dollars, dimes into dollars and dollars into dimes. And the idea of it is very simple. Can we make our dimes work like dollars? And you see me do that all the time. This streaming show on Roku and across the net costs us far less than it used to, and we were able to do so. I mean, the fact is, being on there, being able to stay on and sustain across 15 platforms is because we're very much watching what the cutting edge is, and we do it affordably, so that we can bring it to a group that is fairly cash averse, but not as much as it has been. I know a lot of people have been supporting Don, and we really appreciate that. He still has a long way to go. We're still raising money for him, but that's separate of these shows. So people are asking, well, what do can do if you want to do? You can become a vendor. You can become a sponsor. You can become a citizen. And citizenship is going to actually have a tremendous value later. So about value. But I think people. So I always have this. This is a statement I make, and it's true. I know far too many people that knows the cost of everything, right, and the value of nothing. It's a true statement. Let me say it again. They know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. And what I mean by that is that, sure, we all know what things cost and we can complain on that, but we don't see the value of them. And that's where we're here tonight. So you guys can ask me anything. You can ask David anything. So that sort of thing. If not, we'll end the show early. No, I'm kidding.
We got an awful lot to mention.
Yeah. But let's talk about that. So what is it that I think the community, I think as a whole, we were going to talk to you about another thing about community. And and we have, why should we talk about, negative stories? So we should talk about positive. And you want to know something? I talk about this in advertising. We're going to talk a little bit about what they call amygdala advertising. And you're susceptible to it. I'm susceptible to it. And what's amygdala is an organ in our brain, right near the frontal cortex. And when it activates, it actually shuts down your neocortex. So they say, in a crisis, take a deep breath and be calm, because that's about to rage in your brain, telling you it's a fight, flight, or freeze organ. So it means if somebody does something and you have to suddenly do it. Have you ever suddenly heard a car crash at a distance, and your head perks up, and we're all become meerkats looking for it, and we freeze and spot, and waiting to see if everything's safe. We hear a shotgun. People will then often flee. Even if it's nowhere near them, they don't know it. They'll get behind a car or get somewhere. So this is the amygdala marketing. And what amygdala marketing does is it tries to bring you the disaster. And the amygdala marketing is the idea that you're in danger and you do this action to make yourself safe. And where does it come from? Well, in the wild, and we will help. Pagan World can help with that. We'll talk about that in 1 second. And so it means we used to have to watch the scale, not because we were worried that some nice fuzzy wolf was going to come out and join our pool and become our domestic pet. No, because that tiger may jump out at you and eat you. The bears, we had birds. I mean, we've had a lot of threats. It's only in the last 10,000 or 12,000 years that humanity's really dominated nature, where you didn't have to worry about nature. And even today, people get eaten by animals all the time. So our brain wants to find those things. Well, marketers kind of play on that and say to talk positively and to talk well about things doesn't sell as well.
Well, because it puts us in a state of complacency versus getting our attention by activating that part of the brain.
Yeah. So I'll give you one that I really like commercials. Have you ever seen the State Farm commercials with Mayhem? He's always like, mayhem can always happen. And he goes through, it's very funny. It relaxes you because it's very funny. But that guy gets, he shows you all the dangers of the world. And it's like, oh, that young girl doing a dance on the side, doing, the thing. And everybody looks at his head and he crashed your car. That sort of thing. Or you climb up to the roof to put on Christmas lights, nice thing, right? Which is then, and you fall down. Now they do it through humor, but they show you real dangers. You go, ooh, I need State Farm insurance because I would do something stupid like that. And so that's
what if that happened? Yeah.
right.
So that makes sense. And I've noticed. Can you maybe talk a little bit about negative advertising, because I've noticed that it's getting more and more prevalent. That when I'm looking at my cell phone, doing whatever I'm doing, and there are ads, maybe a little block game or something. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. Ads pop up, and they make it. They try to pique your interest, get your attention by saying things like, nobody can beat this, or you can't do this, or do you think you could actually meet this challenge in 10 minutes? Or you would be in the top 1% if you could do this. Check your IQ, et cetera, issuing very negative sounding challenges to people, or showing them examples of someone playing a game very, very badly. So the person is thinking, well, I could do a lot better than that.
So that is,
what do you call that kind of negative?
So that's dope. So that is also chemical. Remember, a lot of advertising is based on chemistry of the brain, and that is dopamine if you win, but that's cortisone. Cortisone is the chemical we produce when we know our status. It's about status building. If you can get an energy over, and I don't know why we humans are built this way, but it's true. But if you can beat somebody, it gives you dopamines are for things to challenge. But dopamines aren't the reward chemical. Dopamines are what keeps us going. So when you have a dopamine run, it's never about winning. It's about the actions before the winning. You feel the best right before you win. I'm doing it. I'm chugging. So it keeps you going. There's a chemical called cortisone in your brain. And what it does, as soon as you win, it calms down the dopamine. It starts to calm down the adrenaline because you want to calm those down. And it makes you feel happy. It makes you feel secure. It makes you feel, I just beat that person. So you've got this little triumphant energy. So that negative thing, if I can beat that, I'm better than 99% of the people. This can't be beat, so you got to try it. You're like, can I beat it? And when you do beat it, it's a rigged system. You have suddenly the dopamines are frying, and then the cortisone gets you over the top, so you can feel like, I beat everybody. Chieftains, psychopaths, sociopaths, politicians, put them all in the same category. Not all of them are there. You're going to get a reward, a fish. So it's the same thing as a rat through a maze. So they're challenging the maze, saying, can you beat that maze?
So is there a kinder, gentler way that we can approach advertising and help our sponsors to get the reactions they need without playing these mental games with people?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, too. Thank you for that. Is there? So everybody says, so do you care, right? Do you care? What is it you care about? There are a lot of, so let's take one of the most simplest commercials that looks on the surface as being a good commercial. Johnson's baby shampoo.
Oh, you see cute babies with soft skin, and you're talking about how it's making their skin feel so comfortable for them. And
you're like, oh, I want to make my baby feel, but what is it they're selling? It says, we will make your baby feel that way because we don't use harsh chemicals. We don't use this. We don't use that. With the insinuation, of course, if you're buying something else, are you getting the same good ingredients? So a little bit of amygdala, i.e., if you don't use our product, are you really using a good product?
Yeah.
But then they use the baby, which brings up motherly instincts, the cute baby, the cute energies. And then this idea of comfort. You want to bring comfort. So...
So if I have a store selling pagan wares, a little shop, and I want a commercial produced, I'm not going to show babies. So how do we apply that principle to that particular type of business? And we have a lot of those retail businesses that sell books, candles, incenses, and brews, and all that good stuff.
So I think if you want to see somebody who does well, for closes ahead of time, he is a sponsor of our show. They are a sponsor. Aroma G's.
Okay.
Aroma G does a number of things. Now, he does have some hexing and some of that sort of thing, which gets him some reaction. But he also says, if you do this ritual, and he does rituals on his page to help people, and you can buy into the ritual or not. But you can do rituals, and it says, I will make you feel better. This will make you feel better.
So that's his advertising angle. Hey, I can help you to feel better with these methods that I
right, and this product here will help you feel better this way, and this book will help you in this way. And he does all sorts of spell work that you can do for home to make you feel better.
Wonderful.
And so he does that. He does a lot of that. And occasionally he does, this is how you do a hex. This is how you do it. So he really does advertising based on self empowerment, and his products help with that. It doesn't make you want to buy it, but he does really tremendous. He does really good business, not as much as he deserves. I think he deserves more, but he is dedicated to that idea of comfort, the idea of curiosity. Now, the other thing that you can catch somebody they will spend money on is their curiosity. Can I make you curious about my product? So if you're curious about something, and car companies do this, they tell you all the aspects of their car. It says, come down for a test drive. No obligation, no nothing. And you know that's bullshit because of the way they work. But they tell you, come on down for a test drive. If you don't believe us, test drive this.
Give it a shot, challenge us, see what you think, and it gets people in there wanting the product. That's nice. I'll tell you what, I have an idea. I want to issue a challenge on your show. Is that all right?
Sure.
All right. I challenge someone who owns a pagan retail business to let me work with you to produce a commercial. And this isn't something I normally function doing with Ed, but I am going to do the new business show with him. We've already got the first episode on the way. But, I challenge someone to work with me to create a commercial that's based on a product or some products that you have that you can show your potential clientele is really high quality or special, unique in some way. And I want to showcase that and showcase the quality of that product and then say available at your business. Because what that is doing is adding value to others in several ways. It's adding value to your supply chain and their reputation, and you get the effect of good reputation for your business because you carry such a high quality product. Right. So this is a big win-win-win. Customer wins; they find out about the quality of the product they wanted. You win because you're supplying it, and your supplier wins because you're talking them up. And it has to be true. It has to be completely true. They have to actually have an excellent quality product, or you have to actually have something that not everybody has. And instead of talking about anybody else, instead of any kind of negative advertising, I just want to talk about how great that thing is, why it's good, why it's a special thing that witchy and mystical people would want, and then available at. Almost like it's an afterthought to mention your business. If anybody's willing to try that and see what kind of benefit you get from that versus maybe traditional style ads that you've done before, I'd be really interested in working with you.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm going to explain.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Go ahead and do it. Right. paganworldtv@gmail.com. We want to take advantage of it. paganworldtv@gmail.com. Come on our Pagan World site and just let us know.
All right. Excellent. So I'd like to see us do some of these. I want to see everybody winning. That's good business to me. It's my formula. So that sounds good.
Other thing that marketing should do when it does it well, it answers a pain point. And so like we have Janine here saying, I belong to an eclectic group, but I wish I could find a group that is Norse Wicca. And so this is a pain point. I mean, I like my group. You're not complaining about your group. You think it's perfectly fine, but it doesn't fit your taste exactly. That's fine. And that's a bit of a pain point. It could be equally so. It could be the statement, I don't have any groups in my area, which is even more painful. Or the groups I have around me, I find them toxic. Okay, which makes the pain even worse because it's right there, but they're just not worth dealing with.
Yeah.
So one of the PowerPoints, so when you that's why Pagan World exists, is to deal with that pain point. Can you deal with that pain point? I want to buy things, but I don't want anybody to know. Amazon is a great place to buy magical items that take money out of your local store. Remember, if you're not spending it locally, it's not moving in your local community. Got that. But they take away a pain point of giving it to you quick, fast, and nobody knows about it. Because
anonymity,
especially in the witchcraft business and that. They're still like porn stores for some people. They treat it like porn stores because you don't want your neighbor to see you coming out of a fortune teller store and it's probably not. It's a new age store, it's an occult store, or it's a gift store that carries occult items.
That makes sense. People from a strong Christian background, maybe their own family wouldn't understand their interest. They want a plain paper sack and they want to hide something in the closet. Yeah, you're right.
So online stores should offer, and some do, offering that service.
Plain paper packaging.
Right.
Not so obvious. That's a very good thought.
Yeah, and so
it addresses a pain point. I see your point.
So when we ship things, we put our names on it. We don't put the business on it. We will say it's from Don Lewis or from Ed Hubbard up in that corner.
I can attest. I got one.
Right?
That's right.
And no one could ever tell what's inside that package.
No.
It's a very clean package. We use clean packaging, and we put our names there versus the store's names.
So this would be something that maybe a lot of online retailers for pagan products are already doing, but I don't know that they're communicating that to their market. So what a good idea.
And that's how you generate. You've got a pain point.
Mhm.
Or, and I was seeing that, they were talking about it, so you want to find it on.
Right. So when it comes to finding a Norse Wicca group, one of the beautiful functions that's being actively built into Pagan World right now is something to hopefully take the place of Witchvox or to at least honor it the best we can salute and honor it, because it was an awfully good system.
It was a good system.
And it'll provide us a way to connect with people in various areas that are into various types of specific traditions or specific study areas. And this connection ability that it should have, the more people that participate, the better it works. But this connection should solve that problem, right?
Just like this does. Yeah, and hi, Cherry.
Because there could be 5 other people in her city that are sitting around wishing the same thing, and none of them know because they're not connected.
There's no way to connect it, and there's not very central help. So that's a pain point, and I agree with it. Yeah. And people go to festivals and go, "You live down the street from me." It happens all the time. Like, I'm from Chicago. Oh, yeah, so am I. Oh, I live over on XYZ Street. It says, well, I live at ZYX Street. That sort of thing. That happens all the time, and that's about making connections. So any good business makes connections, and today's businesses aren't just flybys. I mean, you have to have a good reputation, and people you're dealing with, your customers. I know people who give gifts out to customers and everything else. So find the pain points people are having. So I had a friend who taught me PR. His name was Brendan. He was a great guy, and he taught me one thing about my own tradition, what we were selling. And we were selling Wicca and spells. He goes, "Oh, no, that's not your pain point. That's the pain point for other people. You need to go into it." And it was ancestor worship. People don't know how to as they're connecting with each other and their families and doing all this genealogy. And they're starting, genealogy is really popular now. And finding all this, they don't know how to answer their ancestors. Reverend Phoenix does a lot of that work. Reverend Aisha does a lot of the work. Of course, we know Reverend Don does a lot of that work.
Well, my goodness, throughout history, most pagan traditions have involved heavily ancestor worship. Some of them were completely based on it. Shinto is a good point. They do have other elements to their religion, to be sure, but Shintoism is primarily about ancestor worship.
Absolutely.
And so were so many other pagan traditions.
But it's not. But today, as we're coming out,
so we're disconnected from that.
There's the pain point. They want to get back to it. As they become pagans, they hear about ancestor worship, but nobody in their family has done it for generations. So they have to reconstruct their ancestor altars. So we made it easier for them.
So how do you make a boveda or whatever you're going to call it in your tradition? Yeah.
And that's what. And people who have done that have really won with YouTube videos. They've really won with their content. Find pain points. So that's a comfort way. You find the pain points and solve them. If you don't, and if people don't know they have a problem, point it out to them. I point out to people all the time that they there's a big pain in the pagan community that people are that. And that will answer that. Janine says, I worked with somebody who didn't know he was pagan until 2 years ago, and I haven't seen him in 5 years.
Yeah, we have a lot of disconnection and losing track of people. I mean, I went from telephone, and as soon as somebody changes their number, we've lost contact if they don't think to tell me about it, right? I went from telephone to Facebook. All of a sudden, they can change the number all they want, and we can stay in touch for years and years and years without a problem. And I've had people that lost touch with me find me on Facebook, and we're connected. Well, I'm hoping that we're going to address that pain point you're talking about with us, our disconnects like this, where we lose track of somebody for years. I'm hoping we're going to fix that by everyone possible participating in contributing the permission and their contact information to this database that's being built so we can reconnect. And so people who think they're alone and they're right around the corner from you don't have to continue feeling alone.
And so Cosmo, as you saw, I had to read this because I can't read it on the board. But Cosmo, and as you know Cosmo, he's been on our show, and I'm hoping to get him on another AI. I'm going to get my AI team together again. We're going to talk. We have to talk about this again. There's been another big change, but I'm not going to go into that rabbit hole today. He says setting up conduits where niche interests can be easily find niche products, services will be more important as time goes on. Absolutely. And vice versa. AI tooling will enable more individualized matching. If you're in
he's talking about building the structure of Pagan World this way, right?
Oh, sure. Cosmo is a member.
Or is this generalized about just internet-related stuff?
I think this is generalized.
Oh, okay.
I think it's true of everyone. So you deal with specialized equipment. You're an electrician, and you were telling me about fireproof clothing
Mm-hmm.
and how expensive it is,
Mhm.
and how hard to find.
Sometimes.
Right? Especially if you to make sure it fits you, that it's fashionable.
Yes.
And what if you have and I'm saying there's somewhere in America that might have exactly the right type of clothing for you that you would like. The right wear, it's got the right sort of fit, and you have no way of knowing that. As we build more and more conduits that do, you know, you find so before you'd have if they were in Massachusetts and you were in any place but Massachusetts, you couldn't find them. You were in the telephone and things like that. You had to do specialty magazines, which were expensive, and so this startup in Massachusetts could not get really off the ground with this better electrical clothing. I'm just using that as that, or fireproof clothing.
Right.
So you do that. So yes, Cosmo was saying yes, generalized.
Okay, good. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay.
But I also think, yeah, actually, we'll talk about his project.
In general, that's a trend that he's noticing that's going to be happening. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to noticing that it can do so. But let's say you join a Facebook group about professional electricians, right?
And I am on quite a few.
Those, right? Now that person, if they know where to look, they go, oh, I need to find professionals that. There's so many opportunities on the internet to connect.
Yes, that's true.
And then they go on, she goes into that group, or he goes into that group and go, I did it. And somebody says, oh, I need new fireproof clothing, and I really don't like the fit of what I'm wearing. They can then respond directly to you.
That's right.
And say, let me send you some pictures. Let me give you a try. And they could offer you a piece of clothing and say, well, why don't you try this?
And right now, that's not happening. We are really connected. I'm a union electrician. We have a lot of union electrician groups. We have traveler groups.
Right.
We have travelers in trouble, so the brothers can work together. Right. Brothers and sisters can help them out. Right. Tramp Down is one of the groups on Facebook that we use for that. And if somebody's having trouble on the road, the other ones will pull together and help them. Or if they're nearby, they'll find out about it and connect. And that's just the kind of connecting we deserve in the pagan community too, isn't it? But what I haven't seen is any vendor know that I just asked people about something that they can help me with and say, hey, can I help? I've never seen that.
And yet
I've seen my phone listen to me when it's turned off practically and then show me some ads later. But I would love to see some kind of responsiveness that helps our community built into Pagan World.
And that's kind of what he's talking about, these sort of conduits. Yeah. I mean, Pagan World is a conduit for a lot of people. And Cosmo is working on a project with Lord Don. And they're going to be bringing back the library, Don's Library of Horror. And they connected to our groups. They connected together. And they both have a real love of horror. I've been watching the little pieces they've been doing. They're talking about it. And he's going to bring back the Library of Horror. They're going to talk about Metropolis. I think they talked about Hexen. They're talking about a whole lot of projects on that. But also, Cosmo is working with us in Pagan World at the level of the board. He's he bring in his expertise, and we bring in different people with that. All of this without us ever meeting each other.
Yeah.
But we dealt with a pain point. Cosmo offered to help Don with the pain point because Don, Reverend Don, as you know, does love to do that, but he needs more help with editing and, more importantly, research and things like that. So these two people met and more, and they form off. We're seeing more and more of that.
And you're not really talking about, with this project and with other projects you're working on, you're not really talking about doing all the work for people. But if you hand them the tools, if you make the tools available, we're getting better and better all the time at connecting ourselves to our own niche markets that we want to be connected to, connecting ourselves to the support groups we want to be connected to. Facebook only has to make it possible for us to make groups, and ta-da, we start flocking together.
Oh, sure.
And Facebook could go away. And I would really like for our pagan connections not to go away with it. So I think this is super important, actually urgent, that we do a project like this. And I hope that we get a lot more support.
And I think we will. And I know of an individual by the name of Lori who's going to be doing an oil system. I mean, so many people sell oil. But I will tell you, pain points. So the last thing pagans can do is called lifestyle replacement products.
Lifestyle replacement products.
Okay, so it's very simply, there's a lot of products we buy because we have to for our lifestyle. And the number one I talk about is soap. Almost everybody uses soap of some time, right? And there's a big battle for soap all the time. There it is. But pagans, when they make soap, I've noticed this, and I've talked about it over and over again, they make big, chunky $5 bars of fancy, really nice smelling soap. And it's really nice. It's really beautiful. And then I see that soap go on the top of a toilet in a nice little case, in a little package and never get touched, never get consumed. And we've all seen this, right? Or they're on the shelves, never being consumed because that's a nice expensive soap, or they will indulge it. But instead of doing that, I've challenged them and I've offered to back this deal. I want you to produce me a bar that I can sell at $1 with a small profit, meaning that sort of thing. And what it is then, I can sell it to you, and you're going to use it because it's cheap enough and the same price as every other bar of soap. If you want to replace Irish Springs, you have to bring in a bar of soap or for $2.29 or something for $4. If we can match the market,
That sounds difficult if you're going to add those ingredients that are special, but it's worth at least making a try,
So
making a focus in that direction.
right? And you're right. And it may not yet be enough. But I told him, says, take out all the sand, so you don't have to put the roses in. So like soap because of allergies. So yes, so you see, some of us have to be. Gene was mentioning.
That's absolutely true. But if you start with a hypoallergenic material and you add things and tell people what you added, they won't order what they have an allergy for, I'm sure. So that's not always an issue. But you do have to be careful preparing it, not to mix ingredients. Just like a kitchen that has peanuts is dangerous to a peanut allergy person.
Of course, and that's absolutely true. And
that's really important. Yeah.
So that's a pain point. Mm-hmm. So now this person may not be as concerned about price to maybe a little bit, but they're willing to pay it. But if they know that merchant is exactly their right, my gosh, would you not only sign up for that, but would you subscribe? So you had your monthly ordering.
If you knew that they were safe, that they were using special practices that addressed your needs and your concerns,
even customize it for you.
Would you subscribe? That's a thought, because so many of our pagan brothers and sisters are really, really handy and crafty, and they make things for themselves. Sometimes they have a little flea market booth, but they could take that to multiple levels, bigger business if they wanted to, if they just knew how to approach it, how to approach their audience, how to solve their pain points, as you were putting. And you know, the kind of media that you're building, the media organizations are for us, right?
Yeah.
And so if we need to reach our target audience,
and that's what we're doing it.
The things we're talking about are how you can reach them and how you can motivate them to action and how you can serve them now and for a long time to come, because they'll be satisfied. They won't cancel that. If you keep on delivering good quality product that you promised you would, they're not going to cancel subscriptions, and you can continue to do better and better business. I would love to see us be more prosperous. I would love to see us a whole lot less moaning about not having anything or not being able to afford anything, because it isn't true anymore for us, and see us a whole lot more using our talents and our abilities, our time in constructive ways that benefit us and our families. And
so Janine would say, soy is my allergy and I can't even be around soy candles. That's fair. So you might have to be only able to afford beeswax. And so if I can get enough people together to do beeswax, if I can find an affinity group, we love candles, we only deal in beeswax candles. You can start a niche group going, we can only use beeswax candles. I'm allergic to everything else. Is the name.
Don't even have soy in your house or in the garage. You build this stuff in so that you can't possibly endanger me. And then they say, hey, we wear these gloves. We have this environment that's clean. We're doing this. We're doing that. And when they address your special needs, that's solved for you and everybody else with a soy allergy. That's
and then
special.
would you then support it? That's lifestyle replacement. Where do you buy your honey from? Is there a local bee honey? You know, that sort of thing. Honey has a special, even more value for wealth. We'll talk about that another time. I've always talked about how the value of long-term wealth in honey. So you can buy products, but if you can get products that you would normally buy from your grocery store, buy from Amazon, buy from, you know, I go to Sears, was my own pitch.
That you're already spending your money on.
That you're already spending your money on, and replace it with products from the community.
That's lifestyle replacement. Okay.
And that's what I'm talking about. You're already buying T-shirts.
So we can actually just redirect the same resources we're directing right now to basic needs to the other members of our community to support each other and help each other to grow in prosperity as a unit. What an interesting thought.
And increases something called velocity.
Doesn't cost us a penny more a month.
But it increases wealth by something called velocity of money. So the number one thing why a lot of people get upset about like Whole Foods coming into a neighborhood, because it dampens the velocity of money versus the local grocery store. And what that means is, most people don't know the term, is the number of times that money turns on in a particular community. So in Whole Foods, nothing against them, they do a great job, and they got these huge systems. Almost 70% or more of their money goes out of that store into a bank account somewhere far away.
Now, I'm somebody that just had my eyes glaze over listening to that, and I'm wondering why I care. Tell me why I care.
So that means that money goes out of your community. The last 30% of that money goes to the employees, the workers, everybody else.
So everybody in my community does better when that money moves more
So
times per day, hour, whatever.
Right. So you go to a local grocery store
Mhm.
owned by the neighborhood down the street, and you've known this family for a while. You spend their money. There now the money goes into your local bank to be loaned to your local housing. Now it's less of that happening. You pay local employees, but they might sponsor your little league team.
I see.
So it goes in there.
So your particular community may benefit in many ways when the money moves more in the community.
So that's the healthy.
So that means our pagan community can benefit in many ways as a whole by considering it our neighborhood.
That's
even
correct.
if it's spread out virtually.
Right.
And we don't have to increase our expenditures per month to make that happen
Mhm.
with lifestyle replacement type products.
And that makes us the velocity of the money, meaning staying inside our community, makes us healthier. It stays inside there and sets a smaller conduit, so we don't have to go to big corporations to get our money.
Awesome.
And so we can work more locally. So the local artist who sells art can sell it. Jewelry makers can sell it instead of buying a piece of junk jewelry out of zinc or something from somebody from overseas. They get sold through Amazon just because they happen to be a pentagram, and you love pentagrams.
Mm.
But if you get somebody who's a silversmith, they can build you something a little bit more affordable, a little bit nicer, that sort of thing. Shoe repair businesses. There's a lot of businesses that we buy new from that there's other people like a shoe repair business. I'm telling you.
You know, we wouldn't be the first ones in history to try to keep the money in our community. I mean, there's been all kinds of different groups, religious groups and otherwise, that work to do business with each other first before choosing to do business with someone else.
Virtually every healthy community does business with each other first. Masons, Muslims out of their own church, regular Christians,
Jewish people
Jewish
are always
family.
like, is he Jewish? Is she Jewish? Whether it's about say, somebody's dating or the dentist they're going to, right?
Right.
And they're not the only ones, but it's just that we're familiar with that piece
Right.
of our culture so much.
And
why are we not, is he pagan? I mean, we
Mhm.
don't have to get crazy about it. You can date anybody you want. Don't get me wrong. But it would be so nice if we
Mhm.
could do business with each other first, as long as there is a choice. And to help create
Mhm.
more choices for people to do that would be a good work. It would make us all benefit.
That's right. And then we can move our business out of just being sent. For yourself, if somebody, I mean, you work at pretty high end. I'm just using an example. But if you're in your neighborhood, your home, right, and somebody comes over and says, I need an electrician. Now, you don't necessarily have to do the work because it may not be something you want to do. But you may know somebody who can do the work. And, maybe they're a younger person that could use some experience.
Yeah, maybe you could recommend someone, yes.
Yeah, Hasidic in Brooklyn are famous for this, doing it community first.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're famous for it. It's what you do. So you use community first. You deal with pain points, and then you can deal with pain points. You have to do that. You have to offer something, either make them curious, which is another comfort zone, figure a way to comforting them. You try to deal on the cute side. And also then you can also say, point out this is going to help a larger community. You can show your charity of that.
Yeah.
And all that.
This is a terribly important conversation to have.
Yeah.
Because this conversation answers
Mhm.
the objection I hear a lot from people. I see it in comments and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I don't want to say anything because I'm not trying to feed into a negative vibes
Right.
if I can help it. But I do see a lot of comments that I just have to be honest about, where people are saying things like, we don't need community, we don't need this, we don't need that. We are not a community. We are small separate groups. That's our nature. That's how witches work. But wouldn't we all be a hell of a lot stronger, not just financially, but in many ways stronger if we all support each other? And if we do business in our community first, wouldn't that benefit every one of us?
And let me go. Yes, not only would it benefit us, we'd have a healthier community. Pagan prides are a good example of this. Pagan prides, take that pagan pride and try to figure out how to do business with everybody for the entire year. And I've done it. I've done it with certain people. But it finally goes back to the one pain point that we started. One of the things was asking, how can I find a Norse Wicca group? If we're doing business with each other, if we're talking to each other, if we're healthier, we're going to be less shy about talking about our groups or talking about somebody else's group because we're not afraid of losing that person's resources from my own micro community. The thing that holds a lot of people back from recommending other groups, other teachers, other products, other stores is because they're afraid of losing that customer.
What about time investment? And what I mean by that is
I'm a chrono investor.
we have a certain number of hours per day. We have a finite amount of time that
Right.
we can spend doing things. And for us to do everything else we do in our day, and if we have kids, that's a lot.
Oh yeah.
But for us to do everything else in our day,
Mm-hmm.
and plus find time to try and network with other pagans, it sounds very much like a chore.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, if our everyday business involves other people in our pagan community because we are doing this lifestyle replacement products and services, we're already talking to them. We're already connecting with them in meaningful ways that have to do with our needs versus our wants and do not take additional time out of our already busy schedules in order for us to do this networking.
Absolutely.
So I see a lot of wins in building this community. I think there's a reason why, no matter what we've always done, why we need to have a global community connection.
Absolutely. And then even can go a step further. So in South Africa, the Pagan Interfaith Library, books are extremely expensive. I talk about prosperity and income based on chronos, meaning I don't care how many dollars it costs, how much time did it cost you? And so that means for us to buy a book in the United States at minimum wage in City Chicago, which is like $15 an hour, it takes us anywhere from an hour to 3 hours to buy a book. If you bought the omnibus at the new collectible omnibus at $50, that would take you 3 hours and 15 minutes worth of chrono time to buy it. So in South Africa, when I went over to South Africa for the Problem of World Religions and when I went over there, I fell in love with them. And they were always complaining they didn't have enough books. Books are really expensive. And I go, oh, how much are they? And they would give it into their money, which was like 300 Rand, right, at the time. 300 Rand, and how many Rands to a dollar? At that time, it was 8 Rand to a dollar. Okay? So the book was no more expensive there in our terms of exchange of money than it is here. But when you broke it down, the average worker there makes, an average worker there is lucky. We're lucky if they make 800 Rand a week. So that book.
Wow, so that was one expensive book.
So books got expensive. So we took the prosperity of America and some of the needs of there, and we sent over, and they spent a lot of money on that. Clan Kepper, they actually were honestly put it on there, and we sent them a bunch of books over.
Oh wow!
From our donations. I mean, we just donated the books. Some people bought books, donated. So we're so prosperous, we don't think of handing that book over. But for them,
yeah, and frankly, if it takes them paying full price, we have tools available to us. We can receive the very next day a bunch of books we bought for $1 and $2 a piece.
Right.
They'll show up as used or whatever in fair condition for really low prices a lot of the time. Even really good quality books.
Right, and then it costed us $2,000 to send the book to the library over.
Holy crap!
It wasn't the shipping costs; it was the damn taxes. The import taxes. We had to take care of that.
Yeah.
But now they've got it there, and they got a books collection that's very valuable to them. And now they're expanding their interfaith. They're expanding their interfaith with us. They have these books, and that was it. It was great. I mean, they got them there, and they've got a very big collection for them. And we're going to continue sending books over. But that's a way where prosperity in one country can help out the other country. They're living good lives. Just because of monetary differences, it's also compared to their own country.
I guess another great way is if they're capable of providing a service that we would hire someone for, it's okay to once in a while hire someone over there. I know there's a lot of people that are nationalistic and get really angry at thoughts like that. But truthfully, we can leverage our difference in economies, not to take advantage of those people, but to help them toward prosperity. And that's just not a bad thing.
No, so we have Megan, get it right, as a part of our crew, and she does about 5 hours of work for us a week, and we pay her a set amount of money, a little bit better than American minimum wage, but for her that's actually good leverage for her. She can do the 5 hours a week amongst her regular job, and it gives her a little extra cash, but it's more substantial than it would be to us, and she does a better job. She does all that sort of things, so we're able to help them out, and at the same time, we've got an excellent scheduler. We got now. You've been seeing the daily schedule. We go on there and push the button, you know what shows are coming up on our show.
Yeah. And so we're in the business of helping share advantages with people versus taking advantage of people. And I'm always okay with that.
Yeah. And so we got speak your own books. We have publishing houses so we can help people who publish. We got all sorts of advice. The truth is, are we going to turn the community around now? Are we going to turn the community right now as the elders who are having so much dramatic problems. And we're hearing over and over again, all the elders are having problems. I mean, it's just not Don Lewis. It's just not Oberonzel. It's not, Elspeth. It's not just, Phaedra. There's a lot of these people are having difficulties to get older because they lived a life teaching and not really asking for money, not resources. And I'm not saying they did anything wrong or right. There's a whole argument of it. But it's also predating everybody that's 50 years old now really needs to think about what they're going to do at the end of their career.
Do you think it's maybe fair for me to say, when I think about that, this is something that's a pain point for us or a broken thing that needs fixing?
I think it's a tremendous pain point.
And do you think that the shared buying power and the keeping our economy flowing between us and the community will better position us to take care of our elders?
Absolutely.
Well, then that's another important reason why we have to move this direction. So I think I want to speak to that objection that I keep seeing from different people. I want to speak that objection against even creating community connections.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Don't be afraid of the burning times and hide in the closet. Mm-hmm. Connect with your brothers and sisters that love you just the way you are and are not in possession of pitchforks and torches coming after you. Connect with the people that are of like mind, and let's share our resources with each other in a way that benefits every one of us. No one takes advantage of anyone. Everyone prospers together. I want to see that, and you've explained and demonstrated well how that actually can work and how it works for everyone's benefit. Let's do this. Let's do this.
And that's
the only reason it wasn't feasible for us to have a way to take care of our elders is because we did not have something like this in place.
And everything was very localized.
Yeah.
And so I believe in Byron's thing. We needed to re-enchant the local because the national stole a lot of energy out of the communities. They also saved the community in a lot of ways because they were all. There's another story about the old witch wars, and I want to get into that at some point, but not on the Daily Spell. I want to do a special on witch wars. But we're gonna do this last piece here from Cosmo. Well, Jennings, according to a book I read, said 13 companies went against Germany during World War II. Oh, absolutely. These communities, because they were under stress and under duration, and the society was like, we need to win this. Anything was good. And they did it. They did do spells, and some of the storms came up, and they've got some things.
Gardner got pretty famous for some of the related to England, some of that that type of work, yes.
And what they did do in exchange, they were able to exchange that labor, that energy, that anything, to get their laws stripped. That's what happened in World War II.
That's fascinating. I hadn't thought of it that way.
It's why they got the laws.
Because they got the appreciation and recognition.
If they stripped the law away, they're finally.
I think at the time the big deal we're talking about here, they called that the Great Right, even though we have another definition for it too in our community. I think they called it the Great Right, and it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And yeah, working together is nothing we can't do. So why in the heck are we not working together?
Right, and then that was led to the 1955 law of them saying you can't be arrested for witchcraft anymore in England. Because how can you happen to heroes? So that cooperation and that publicness brought that energy around. So when you do donate food to your local charity, it's not accidental. It means they have to deal with you. And if they're a Christian, they want to push you out. That's why, because they don't want to change the perception. When we work together, we change perception. That of what we are. We look healthier. We're not that lone little person.
Yeah. How much respect do you have for a group that are fighting with each other? Versus how much respect do you have for a group that keep getting stronger because they're working together?
And so Cosmo, it says, when you deal with community first, you can test and reinforce a model of engagement and foundation of knowledge that can be scaled outward toward the wider world.
I like this person. I don't actually know him yet, but we're going to know
him. We've interviewed him, and we do. And he's going to be involved.
That is wonderful.
He's involved very much in the Pagan World Project in a lot of different ways. He's an individual who's made a real commitment of time and words to help out. He's just going to be a part of our ethics community. Pagan World is going to actually have, because I am a bloody capitalist, we're actually getting together before, even after we form, an ethics community. And we're going to talk about what is ethical business, how we're going to enforce these rules, how are we going to reach out to these situations when we have them instead of trying to act.
That's a big deal with me. I always start with ethics when I teach any students. Ethics is a huge thing with me, so I'm excited to hear about that.
And so they're going to actually work on how do we bring ethics, because everybody complains, well, we're not just going to be making money, we're going to be, because we're not for profit. Does not mean we can't earn things, we can't pay people, can't do all that. They always think of it It's like it's all charity.
Yeah, that doesn't mean there's no money involved. It just means that the money isn't just lining somebody's pocket for fun.
It's
It's
not-
going back into the business and into programs that are helping people.
No,
out.
it's not going to go for Jeff Bezos' rockets. His giant fireworks.
You mean we're not going to send him to the moon?
No, but it could mean that somewhere along the way we can build a scholarship for somebody who wants to go to college, who wants to be on that rocket.
Yeah, like that.
So that's very possible, and we can engage it. No one's going to believe that pagan is a better lifestyle. That being a pagan, being a Wiccan, being a heathen, being a Norseman, being a Norse woman, being a Strega, being Shinto, or any of this, until we can prove that it makes lives better. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it just makes you feel better in the heart, so you do a better job and you're gentler with your children, you're gentler with the neighbors. That's a real product, to make yourself feel better. And over the long run, again, getting back to comfort. Or finding the Norse group that you want, or finding the festival of lights. You say, oh, I want to go to a festival. That sort of thing. Make you feel better. Or does it actually make you feel better by, this time, there's a lot of people out there and that make these ointments that other people just swear by. And they sell by word of mouth. But what if they can get on here and say, today I want to talk about oil, about my oils. Okay, that'd be fine. Hi, Christy Mann. And that's an interview coming up. That's another person, Metaphysical Times Magazine. Check it out. That's another way of helping the community with information.
No, Christy works so hard for the sake of this community in her own way, and I would love to see her do a lot more of it. I'd love to see the well-written articles that she's writing and that are submitted to her newspaper and magazine. I'd love to see them in the hands of a lot more people.
And I agree on that. I'm not going to answer that question. We'll take care of that in that.
That's a statement.
and it's when I talk about the Parliament, if you go to the Parliament, it's not a true statement. There's a whole people who work in interfaith that are doing that, but more in particular, well, thank you, Christy. I need essential oils. Check out Pagan World. We're going to start having more and more of that. There's a lot of people out there. Check out Lori Blackman's got essential oils. She's doing some specialty oils that blends for people. So there's a lot of people out there who do them. The thing is, it shouldn't be hard to find essential oils. But if you go on the web right now, you go look at essential oils, you're going to find the big companies to do so. We're going to try to help you find the small companies that do a great job with them and make them locally. I know people who make their own rose oil, and it's a complicated process.
Oh my goodness. That takes so many roses and so much hard work.
And it takes a copper pot that most people don't have.
I didn't know that.
A copper distillery.
That's why we need to have a little special about it so I can learn and everybody else can too, right?
Right.
Really nifty.
Yeah.
But they appreciate the value of the product a lot more when they find out what goes in it. And it's been a long time, so I forgot the details, and I'm looking forward to learning more about it.
And we did a showcase with it. I learned it on the showcase.
It takes so much product to make so little of the oil, right?
Right, and that's why it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And it's got to be certain catalysts and things like that.
Wow.
As we learn about our world, we just basically, and I think this is where we're going to leave it. So I understand that we've gotten into a very prosperous, instant world. You don't even think about the products you buy. You just say, you go into the world and you say, I want rose oil, right? And you say, I want a good quality rose oil or a bad quality or cheap. And you go into your local apothecary, right?
Not really. I click and it's there in the morning.
And then you can do that. Or you go into your big store brands without essentially knowing who's making the product. We need to put faces back behind our products. And I love the internet because there's a lot more people who are buying that way. So that's one of the things, when you're working with us as a vendor or a sponsor or just being on the site, you don't have to spend a cent. If you're a business person, just join the site, pagan.world. We're working now. We're almost to 1,000 people. We want to get to 100,000 people over the next couple of months so that, networks are more useful. We'll talk about that. But essentially, think about what you're buying. So you can buy from fear. No question. We talked about that. We've gone into all the different ways that we can hopefully help you buy from everything else. But let me put one fear selling, because I think it's a pain point too. If we don't do this, the way the AI systems, the way these macroeconomics, they will take and be able to decide who's the winner. Amazon will be able to decide the winner is. eBay will decide who the winner is by who they promote and don't. So your attention and your desire will be sold to the highest bidder instead of to the best into the best product for you.
So there's a certain social justice in what
Mhm.
we're trying to do
Mhm.
in connecting high quality products with people that need those exact products while bringing the community together. There's a certain social justice to involved with that, and you know, I feel like ethically somebody can't help feeling that it's the right thing to do if they really look at
Mhm.
all the weigh out all of the things we just discussed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is it. It's about, can we have a more community-oriented, ethical, prosperous community
Heck yeah.
by just basically practicing some handful of ways of connecting.
And it all starts with connecting. It all starts with making the
Everything starts
connections.
with connect.
We've been talking about what we can do with those connections because we want people to understand the value of making the connections. But right now, we're in the process of building something new to do that with. So everybody needs to get involved, get your friends involved, spread by word of mouth, spread by internet posts,
Mm-hmm.
share posts. If you see this as a post on your Facebook, would you please share it
Mm-hmm.
so that everyone you know can find out what kind of better world we're trying to build here
Mhm.
together?
Absolutely. And
Pagan world.
pagan world, and that's it. So think about it. So thank you for listening to this. And tomorrow, come out if you're here in St. Louis, support those local businesses and all those. So the KC Psychic Fair isn't just one business. That's the ownership of it. It's like it is serving 50 smaller businesses, readers, and things like that.
And help your local David. He's suffering from a hug deficit.
There you go.
Let's get together if you're here.
Absolutely. That's good. And that sort of thing. Well, thank you, Christy. Thank you, Janine. Thank you, Cherry. Thank you, Cosmo, for all joining us today. And we'll be back on Monday with our shows going out there. Next week will be Tarot Tuesday. There you go, hugs. Tarot Tuesday next week, we're going to have Deej back with Mary. And we're going to have more information as you can. Don will be probably back up. But if you're having a Don deficit, Reverend Don deficit, remember he's doing a midday show now, and out there every day he's doing a midday show
So you can get your Don fix every day.
nearly every day, and you're out there. So blessed be, folks. Have a great night and enjoy the weekend. And watch Witch Rising on Sunday if you really want to get into the other side of what we can do. Get to Witch Rising on Sunday. It's going to be fire. Blessed be.